Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. In Afghanistan, the Taliban have taken control of the key eastern city of Jalalabad without a fight after its governor surrendered to the group. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has warned the Taliban of swift and strong military response if U.S. mission is attacked. Biden also announced the deployment of 5,000 troops in Afghanistan to help evacuate its citizens and ensure a safe withdrawal of its forces. Kashmiris are observing India's Independence Day as Black Day in protest and rejection of its illegal occupation of the valley. The All Parties Hurriyat Conference and other parties have called for a complete strike in the territory. Meanwhile, the protesting farmers in India are marking the day as a day of hope of liberation from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's rule. Over 300 people have died and hundreds of others are injured as a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, reducing buildings to rubble. Prime Minister Ariel Henry said that the quake has caused substantial damage in various parts of the country. This has rekindled painful memories of the devastating 2010 tremor that killed an estimated 200,000 people. At least 20 people have died in a fuel tanker explosion in Lebanon's northern Akkar region. The Lebanese Red Cross says at least 79 others were injured in the incident. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri has called for a resignation from President Michel Aoun following the explosion. The United States has reported over 212,000 new cases of COVID-19 and nearly 1,400 deaths overnight. In Pakistan, 67 more people lost their lives to the virus and over 3,700 tested positive in the past 24 hours. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 4.3 million lives and infected over 207 million people so far. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back. In Afghanistan, the Taliban have taken control of the key eastern city of Jalalabad without a fight after its governor surrendered to the group. This followed the Taliban's seizure of the major northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif a day earlier. Kabul is now the last major city under the government's control. The Taliban now control 25 of Afghanistan's 34 provincial capitals. In a tweet, the Taliban spokesperson claimed to have captured Maidan Vardak's capital, Maidan-e-Shar, along with Nangarhar's Spingar district. Meanwhile, the United States officials say the evacuation of diplomats from Kabul has begun, but the embassy continues to function. Earlier, President Joe Biden warned the Taliban of swift and strong military response if a U.S. mission is attacked. Biden also announced the deployment of 5,000 troops in Afghanistan to help evacuate its citizens and ensure a safe withdrawal of its forces. Elsewhere, Uzbekistan says it has detained 84 Afghan soldiers who crossed its border. For more on this, we are joined by Mr. Ashad Yousafzai, a political analyst speaking to us from Peshawar. Mr. Yousafzai, thank you so much for speaking to Indus News. Now, Mr. Yousafzai, with the Taliban now in control of all major cities other than Kabul, do you believe President Ashraf Ghani might resign?
It's a very important question, and everybody wants to know the answer. Unfortunately, President Ghani has not decided yet. And I said unfortunately because for the safety of Kabul and its residents, for the safety of the beautiful city, as soon as President Ghani resigns, it would be better, because the Taliban have now reached Jalalabad, they are in control in Logar, and also they have reached on other places that connect them to Kabul. They can launch an offensive anytime, and it's better to save the bloodshed, and for President Ghani to resign would be the safest and better option.
All right, Mr. Yousafzai, now the United States President Joe Biden has sent an additional 5,000 troops for the safe exit of U.S. personnel. If there would be an attack on Kabul, could we see the United States dragged back into the conflict on the ground?
I don't think so, no. They would not want to start a new war with the Afghan Taliban, who are controlling the country now. I believe that the forces are there only for the safety of the U.S. personnel and the diplomats, and they would try to finish their job as soon as possible to just get out of the country and leave it to whoever is fighting there.
Now, Mr. Yousafzai, if the war in Afghanistan protracts further, would there be an additional influx of refugees into Pakistan, and what could be the monetary and social cost of such an exodus?
Yes, this is an important question, and Pakistan is already expecting between 500,000 to 700,000 fresh refugees, although the UNHCR puts this figure very low. It's just 200,000 in their calculations. But Pakistan is not in a financial position to support any additional refugees. Pakistan's economy is not that strong. So to support any additional refugees, Pakistan must get guarantees from international community and from aid agencies. Unless they provide guarantees, unless they are committed to supporting the refugees, Pakistan cannot do it on its own.
All right, Mr. Yousafzai, is there still any hope of a negotiated political settlement in Afghanistan, and what would it take?
Well, the only hope now is that Kabul regime should resign. They should leave Kabul to Taliban without a bloodshed and let them come into power now. Because the Taliban, as they have promised, and hopefully they will keep their promises, that they will not repeat the mistakes that they did in the past. And they are willing to communicate and have engagement with international community like they've been doing with our regional powers, China, Iran, and Russia. So I believe it is now time for the Kabul regime to let it go and to let Taliban come into power in Kabul.
All right. Mr. Arshad Yousafzai, thank you so much for speaking to Indus News. Kashmiris are observing India's Independence Day as Black Day in protest and rejection of its illegal occupation of the valley. The All Parties Hurriyat Conference and other parties have called for a complete strike in the territory. Black flags will be hoisted to protest India's gross human rights violations in the occupied valley. Protests have also been arranged by Sikhs and other minorities in different countries, including France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Meanwhile, the protesting farmers in India are marking the day as the day of hope of liberation from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's rule, whereas the United Naga Council has called for a 24-hour total shutdown in all Naga areas against the state-imposed celebrations. The announcement came a day after the state asked the villagers to hoist the Indian flag on the 15th of August. Over 300 people have died and hundreds of others are injured as a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, reducing buildings to rubble. The United States Geological Survey says that the quake's epicenter was about 12 kilometers from the town of St. Louis de Sod at a depth of 10 kilometers. It was felt in neighboring countries as well. The tremor was also followed by a series of aftershocks. The Prime Minister Ariel Henry has declared a month-long state of emergency. Haiti is still recovering from a devastating 2010's earthquake that resulted in the loss of over 300,000 lives. At least 20 people have died in a fuel tanker explosion in Lebanon's northern Akkar region. The Lebanese Red Cross says at least 79 others were also injured in this incident. Eyewitnesses say about 200 people were nearby at the time of the incident. They said an individual who ignited a lighter caused the explosion. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri has called for a resignation from President Michel Aoun following the explosion. Lebanon is suffering from a severe fuel shortage, leading to long lines at gas stations and extended blackouts. In Nigeria, at least 22 people have been killed in an attack near Plateau state capital. Police said that a suspected Christian militia opened fire on a convoy carrying 90 Muslims. In a statement, a police spokesperson said 14 people were injured in the attack, while 21 others were rescued. Condemning the attack, a local official said security around the area has been beefed up. Police said that 12 suspects have been arrested and calm is restored in the area. For years, northwest and central Nigeria has struggled with tensions between Muslim nomadic herders and Christian farmers. The United States has reported over 212,000 new COVID-19 cases and nearly 1,400 deaths overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 4.3 million lives and infected over 207 million people so far. More in this report. The resurgence of the COVID-19 outbreaks has dragged nations back into sweeping restrictions. The United States is now averaging about 650 deaths a day, increasing more than 80% from 2 weeks ago. The rapid spreading of the Delta variant has wreaked havoc in the country, where record hospitalization of over 1,900 children was reported. Meanwhile, Australia has secured 1 million additional doses of the Pfizer vaccine from Poland. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says over half of the new vaccines will be directed to the state of New South Wales.
We need to see these case numbers go down, and we all have a part to play. I can't stress enough the seriousness of the current situation and my grave concerns that these case numbers will continue to escalate. Whilst we have put in additional controls, everyone needs to have a great sense of responsibility to follow the rules.
In Europe, Britain says all 16 and 17-year-olds will be offered their first COVID-19 vaccine dose by the 23rd of August. In Germany, the numbers have come down as the country reported 3 deaths and just about 4,700 cases overnight. Meanwhile, protesters marched across France against the health pass for a 5th consecutive week.
Health pass takes away the liberty of people of whether they want to be vaccinated or not, if they want to go left or right. It deprives them of everything, in fact. It deprives them of going to a hospital, those who are sick. It deprives them of everything. I find it inexplicable.
Russia's daily COVID-19 deaths hit a new record of 819 amid a slow vaccination rate. In South Korea, police mobilized hundreds of buses and set up dozens of checkpoints to fend off political rallies in defiance of warnings over the virus. Elsewhere, India has reported nearly 500 more deaths and over 36,000 new cases. In Pakistan, coronavirus has claimed 67 more lives over the past 24 hours. The health ministry says that the death toll has risen to 24,406. The ministry registered a little over 3,700 infections overnight. The positivity rate was recorded below 7% for the first time in over 2 weeks. Pakistan has reported over 1,098,000 cases since the pandemic began. There are more than 87,000 active cases, including nearly 4,800 in critical condition. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Pakistan, 13 people of the same family have been killed after their mini truck was hit by a grenade in the southern city of Karachi. Officials say 7 others are injured, while the deceased include 7 women and 6 children. Police say the extended family hailed from northern Swat and was returning from a wedding in Karachi. They said an investigation is underway. Police have not yet characterized the attack as an act of terrorism, saying it may be a family dispute. The Ivory Coast has confirmed its first case of Ebola virus in 25 years. The infected patient has been hospitalized in the country's largest city of Abidjan. Health Minister Pierre Dimba says that it is an isolated case of an 18-year-old girl who traveled from neighboring Guinea, while the World Health Organization said it is of immense concern that this outbreak has been declared in Abidjan. In a statement, WHO Africa Regional Director Matshidiso Moti said that Abidjan is a metropolis of more than 4 million people. In Ukraine, people have clashed with the police from a nationalist party near President Volodymyr Zelensky's office. The protest was held against the Steinmeier formula, which provides special status for Donbas region, controlled by pro-Russian separatists. The protesters attacked with sticks and threw tires and stones while the police sprayed tear gas. Interior Minister Denis Monastyrskaya said that 8 policemen were injured and a criminal probe has been launched. The demonstrators said that the violence was provoked by police officers when they blocked access to the president's office. Russia and North Korea have vowed to strengthen their cooperation. The two sides exchanged messages on the 76th anniversary of the liberation of the Korean Peninsula from Japan's colonial rule. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un stressed the friendly ties of their countries. Kim expressed the hope that their relations will grow stronger to a new strategic level. Putin said that the implementation of the 2019 bilateral agreements in Vladivostok will further promote the ties. He noted enhanced relations will ensure security in the Korean Peninsula and in the region as a whole. Moscow says it will issue a working visa to BBC journalists if London does the same for the Russian correspondent. Moscow said that the decision does not to renew BBC correspondent Sarah Rainsford's visa was just a tit-for-tat measure. Foreign Ministry spokesperson said the UK must explain its decision of not granting visas to Russian journalists. Maria Zurkova said that Moscow had been proposing to the United Kingdom to unblock the visa issue with journalists for a very long time. Rainsford's visa expires on the 31st of August, and the journalist says she is caught up in a wider diplomatic game. She also condemned what she called an increasingly repressive environment for critical journalists in Russia. All 8 on board a Russian firefighter plane have died after it crashed in Turkey during a mission. Moscow's defense ministry says that the victims include 5 Russian servicemen and 3 Turkish citizens. Ankara said that the plane had been rented from Russia to help contain forest fires in Kahramanmaraş. Both the countries said that the investigations have been launched into the incident. The cause of the crash is yet to be identified. Torrential rains have lashed much of Japan, submerging roads and buildings in the western part of the country. Authorities say 3 people are feared to be dead after a landslide in central Nagano Prefecture. Heavy rains caused the rivers to overflow and triggered landslides in the southernmost island of Kyushu. Authorities have urged nearly 2 million people to evacuate their homes. In Saga Prefecture, nearly 200 patients at a hospital and nursing home residents were safely evacuated after flooding. Highest level rain warnings have been issued in a number of prefectures, including Fukuoka and Hiroshima. In Turkey, the death toll from floods has risen to 57 in the Black Sea region. Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu says 62 people are reported to be missing in Kastamonu and Sinop. The Emergency and Disaster Agency said 48 people died in Kastamonu. Officials said that at least 454 buildings are severely damaged and ruined in the 3 provinces. Authorities fear more casualties as emergency workers search the ruins. Triggered by torrential rains, flood caused buildings to collapse, smashed bridges, and clogged trees with the cars. About 2,300 people have been evacuated across the region. Scores of them lifted from rooftops by helicopters. Scientists say an astonishingly well-preserved lion cub found in Russia's Siberian Prima forest is 28,000 years old. The dead animal still had its fur, internal organs, and skeleton intact. More about the unique discovery in this report.
The female cub named Sparta was found in Russia's Yakutia region in 2018. A second lion cub called Boris was found the year before. The cubs were discovered 15 meters apart, but are not only from different litters, but were also born thousands of years apart. The scientists say Boris, a male cub, lives around 43,448 years ago.
The find itself is unique. There was no other such find in Yakutia. although another 3 lion cubs have been found for the last few years. One of them, Boris, was located close to Sparta, and others were found nearby more or less on the same river. Those cubs were 1 or 2 weeks old, very little ones. They were nicknamed Uyan and Dina after the river Uyandina.
The 2 cubs, aged around 1 to 2 months, were found by mammoth tusk collectors. Meanwhile, 2 other lion cubs named Yuan and Dina have also been discovered in the region in recent years. Cave lions have been extinct for thousands of years.
It complements the chain of discoveries, because if you talk about Uyan and Dina, their age was 1 or 2 weeks old. But Sparta and Boris were different ages, a month or 2, or probably less. Something like this. I think Boris is older because it has lighter wool comparing with Sparta.
Similar finds in Russia's vast Siberian region have happened with increasing regularity. Climate change is warming the Arctic at a faster pace than the rest of the world and has thawed the ground in some areas long locked in permafrost.
It's now time to take a look at the weather updates from around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at indus.news.